Lucy Knight called my grandfather,
And his name was what?
Lawrence
Elvin.
to homestead in Canada. They sold all their possessions and moved to Raymond, Alberta, Canada. And that is where my mother was born in 1903.
5th of July, 1903.
And she tells stories. It was wild there. And she tells stories about the Indians with their flying black hair riding into their, and the men were off farming, so she was there with her baby, and they were begging for food. And she would try and have bread for them. But she said it was a very scary thing because their undress and their flying hair and their horses galloping through. And I don't know how long they lived there, but my grandfather went broke because it was dry farming, which meant no water. You depended on the elements. And they moved back to Utah. And I'm assuming they moved back to Pleasant Grove. Actually, I think they moved to Linden first. Then they moved to Pleasant Grove. Linden was the little town.
Did they move back with your grandmother's parents? Or your grandfather's parents? Or did they just,
I don't know anything about
okay, they just moved back to this area,
that. Yeah,
as far as you know?
right. And they had this farm,
What did they farm?
beets, tomatoes, potatoes, grain.
Grain as in wheat or, what is that?
And sweet potatoes to make sugar.
Oh,
They shipped those.
uh-huh. Do you remember what your grandparents looked like when you knew them?
Well, we have pictures of my grandfather and my grandmother.
But your memories of them, of what they looked like when you got to be around them, what they were dressed in, and not when they got dressed
Well,
up, what they looked like.
you know, when my grandfather was young, before he and my grandmother were married, he hauled the granite for the temple.
No, I didn't know that. He hauled the granite for the Salt Lake Temple.
Right, by wagon. Imagine what that was like getting down those trails.
This was Lawrence Allred that did this
Yeah,
when he was a young man.
right. But their clothes were very casual. Little pants.
Did he wear coveralls?
You bet.
Okay. I know you told me that one of their favorite things to do was to come in from working in the fields, eat a large meal. Their main meal of the day would be at noon.
Dinner.
Yeah, their dinner was at noon. Then they'd go in the parlor and
Well, the carpet was one of those coarse horsehair carpets. It didn't matter then they would get up and go back out and milk the cows one more time. Yeah, do all the, feed the chickens and slop the pigs. I got to slop the pigs. And come in and have a cold supper.
What would be in the cold supper?
Oh, maybe leftover corn, fresh corn, tomatoes. My grandfather was not big on veggies.
They did you?
And well, my grandma usually had something sweet. Like a pudding or, she was great for making pies. I'm sure they weren't like our pies today, but
They were probably better. Because they would have made their crust from lard.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
crust would have been just so flaky. And the fillings would have been exactly the same. They would have had apples and sugar and cinnamon
You bet.
and cornstarch to thicken, and they would have had a perfect pie.
Yep. They were tasty.
Oh, I'm sure they were.
And they went to bed early. So they could get up at 4 o'clock and start over again.
How many brothers and sisters did my grandmother, your mother, have?
Well, there was 8, and I'm not sure of the order. There was Aunt Flora. I'm sure she was the oldest.
No,
No?
no. Elvin was the oldest.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Robin, read them off.
Elvin was born in 1895
Yeah.
in Spring City, San Pete County.
Oh.
That's
George.
where the graves are.
George was born in 1897 in Spring City,
Okay.
and then was Flora in 1898, also from Spring City. Mary Ellen in 1901 in Spring City. She was stillborn. And then Lucia. And she was in 1903 in Canada. And then Richard Isaac in 1906 in Filer, Cassia, Idaho.
So they went to Idaho first before they came back to
Utah.
Pleasant Grove. How do you spell it?
Filer.
Filer. And what's the county?
Cassia, Cassia.
Idaho. Okay.
Okay. Then Aunt Bernice in 1909, Linden, Utah.
Okay, that's what, so they went to Linden.
And then Lamar Maxfield in 1913. That's one span.
Yeah.
In Linden.
Well,
He was probably a surprise.
but they gave him the middle name Maxfield.
Yes.
Well, how about that? After Ida.
Yep.
What's her name? Ida
Ida Eveline.
Eveline Maxfield.
Well, their second son, who was a stillborn, George, had a middle initial, George M. So maybe he would have been a Maxfield if he had
Yeah.
lived. But he was stillborn, so they just put the M.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 children. Okie dokie. So. Oh, okay. So she had 6 living children. 2 not. And Flora, can you tell me when she died? What year? 1916 was the
Flora Ida
flu
Allred
epidemic.
died in 1919.
1919. died in 1919 in a flu epidemic.
But she had beautiful black hair. Piled high.
How old was she? Let's see, she was less than 19 years old.
1898 to 1919.
She was like,
21.
was she 21? No, yeah, she is. She's 21. Okay, she's 21. Obviously did not marry.
Yes, she did. She's the one that had the son, Rodney.
Oh, and who did she
She
marry?
married Warren Samuel Walker.
Oh, well, bless her little heart. Okay. And when did she get married?
I don't know. The date's wrong.
Okay. Have to look that up in
Well, she was endowed, maybe that's when she got married. She was endowed the 16th of January, 1918.
Yeah. Didn't you say that he was left as an infant?
To my grandma.
And your grandmother raised him as if it was her child.
For the most part. And then her husband Walker,
He remarried.
he remarried and he got get along with his stepmother. So he spent a lot of time at my grandma's.
Huh. Well, I'm sad that, oh well, I'm glad it all worked out. That he had someone. So your grandma is very kind to him and,
Oh. He was good to her, she was good to him.
oh, I'm sure there was a mutual admiration society going on there quite well. Now, Mom, it's 12:20. When did you want to have lunch?
Robin's eating now, we can eat now.
Well, all right. Let's put a stop, and I will go hunt down our source of heating our sewer.